You want a piece of me, boy?
Nuclear launch detected.
Welcome back to NationWars 5. We're day 2, and this is the last series of the day. We have Mexico and Denmark who's gonna play. So what are your predictions about this series?
Haji. Rhymes. Like, I see where this is going.
Cheeky,
All right.
cheeky.
I'm gonna go grab my notebook out there, listen to 8 Mile, and like start scribbling my own rhymes over here. Now, this should be a really fun one. I think it's safe to say that we saved the best for last today. I really think on paper, this match should deliver. Excellent players on both teams. Obviously, the Mexican players are more well-known. But guys like Lillecannon, Space Marine, I'm excited. Should be really good.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I think the lineup from Denmark, they never really like performed in NationWars, to be honest. Like, usually we'll see their best results in the team sheets at some point. But like, they do have some players with the caliber of like making it to the round of 16, but every time they have to face such a strong team, and Mexico is one of those strong teams, so it's gonna be tough. But as you said, Lillecannon, Space Marine, 2 really good players that you don't want to scoff to.
Yeah, and even Spazzy Mazzi has been making a little bit of noise lately, right? Creating a couple of waves here and there. He's also a very decent Zerg, especially in the European scene. So on paper, it's a fun team, but they are the underdog. You're looking at Mexico. You're looking at Special, the man who had the deepest run ever at the WCS Global Finals for a non-Korean player. And of course, Cham has been really, I don't want to say up and coming, because he has a kind of arrived already, but he's just been very solid throughout 2017.
Yeah, and he keeps on getting better. That's the thing. Like, he's been there for a while, and I think they mentioned it on Twitter a couple of times. Like, we are actually super excited about the lineup that we have, because we keep getting better, and we still keep on having the same lineup. So we get to know each other quite a bit. So strategy is a little bit easier to pull off, and they are better than before. So they could go far.
Okay, sounds like it could be a close game.
Yeah.
So let's look closer at Mexico.
Okay, fun fact on Mexico.
You know that Mexico and United States share the 2nd longest border in the world? I was kind of surprised by that.
And you know what? Now I want to ask you, what's the longest border? Like,
I mean, what's above the United States?
Canada?
Yeah, it's a very big country.
Interesting. I didn't think about it. I was like, maybe something along
Like,
the
I
lines
kind of
of
expected
Russia,
maybe like
Mongolia?
China.
China and
Poland
Russia?
is not big enough, but maybe like Russia and
Mongolia.
China.
Yeah,
kinda.
that's what I thought it was.
But I guess Mongolia is in the mix there, and maybe takes away some of the border space.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a interesting little fact. And I also learned that the official title of Mexico is actually the United Mexican States. I also did not know
Really?
that. Yes, that is their official name.
That's so good.
I know.
That's so good.
What's also good is, of course, their lineup guy. Special is the man we just praised for his amazing run and actually very good 2018 so far. I think the only disappointing run that he had, and now I'm like kind of thinking like, what was the last tournament I casted? It's WESG, where of course he had that surprising 3-0 defeat against Raynor. But to Juanito's defense, he wasn't really feeling in that tournament. You know, not everything was going his way. There were some issues. He didn't have the perfect setup. He was just not on his A game. Jim Rising is a veteran. He's casting a lot in Spanish, but he's also still a very good player, and even knocked out Cham in one of the qualifiers they had not too long ago, which I believe was for WESG.
Yeah.
And of course, we already mentioned Cham. Handsome, solid, great, and still improving. Just a good team overall.
Yeah, great statistics for just a player that played just in NationWars 4. Jim Rising was part of the team that made it to the 2nd place of NationWars 2. So Jim Rising, as you said, like pretty well experienced player. Special 17-7 in terms of ratio in NationWars. So that's a tournament, obviously, that works well for him. He also has two all kills to his name. So obviously a really dangerous player, and all around a really dangerous lineup.
Yeah, one of the top players, I think, in this tournament. Special, that is.
Yeah, Special has done twice all kill in NationWars. And as you know, Special is practicing really hard in Korea in the team house with No Regret as well. So it was really hard to schedule a right time with his teammates. The game has been played earlier today, but nobody knows the results. So I can't wait to find out how it goes, how it went against Denmark.
Yeah.
So Denmark is Lillecannon, Space Marine, and Spazzy Mazzi.
Yeah. I think that's a good lineup. And as you said, like, those 2 players, the 2 first ones, we know them. They've been around for a long time. But even Spazzy Mazzi, as you said, is making a lot of noise for himself. And I'm still waiting on just, confirming how good he is, because I can't really tell. I'd never casted a game of him before, but Space Marine, Lil Cannon, those players, they also have like interesting styles. Obviously, Lil Cannon, a really special player. So I like this lineup, and I like the country in general. I think Denmark has a shot of making it like a really competitive series.
Yeah, it would be an upset if they can get the job done, but crazier things has absolutely happened in the history of StarCraft 2. Lillecannon, like he said, with his unique style and approach to the game, we know that he loves to mech it up, and he's got a couple of very long games to his name. And Space Marine is a Protoss player that I like very much. He's a great guy, very nice, and he takes breaks every now and then, but I'm always impressed by how quickly he bounces back. He can take a 2-3 month break, and then he starts playing again. It's like, bam, 6.3k MMR. I'm like, how do you do that, man? Like, it's like all hands on deck for me over here to even break the 6k barrier, and he just like casually ladders his way up to 6.2, 6.3 MMR. So a really solid team.
Yeah, I do agree. I think, I still think they should lose against Mexico, but I really do think that we will see some interesting games, and I always love like Lil Cannon's play style in general, and I'm wondering how it's gonna fare against any of the Mexican players that he might face in this clan war. I think that there's a lot of potential for some longer games, which we didn't have that much today, considering we had a lot of Zergs and a lot of Protosses that died early on, but we have some Terrans that will make it happen.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's talk about your predictions, the score.
I think, I actually have to double check, but I'm pretty sure I predicted a 4-2 victory for Mexico. Mm-hmm. Just because I really do believe that Space Marine and Lil Cannon are capable of stealing a map. I especially think that Jim Rising is beatable for them. Now, Cham and Juanito, of course, are going to be a little bit more difficult. But best of one, they've got their own styles. They're good players, so I kind of believe that Denmark can at least steal 2 maps here, maybe even more.
Okay, and you actually predicted 4-2.
Okay.
Me and Jess went for the 4-1. The way I see it is that at some point we lose Cham maybe, or maybe we drop a map and then Juanito comes in and makes it maybe a third all kill for himself.
Could be.
Can we take a look at the votes of the chat? Yeah. So they voted, and I think Mexico, they're favorite in this match.
Everyone loves Juanito. They're ready to spam that Dorito for Juanito. You know it's going to happen in the chat, if he actually plays, of course, that is.
And we have 84% for Mexico and 19% for Denmark.
Yeah, I think Denmark deserves a little more credit than that. I mean, that was the same for Finland versus Czech Republic. And I was like, guys, this Zero guy is really good. it's unlikely he's going to lose twice, And of course, seeing Special lose twice would absolutely be a big upset. Mm-hmm. But once again, within the realm of possibilities, not likely, but not impossible.
Yeah, definitely. I will agree with that. And actually, like, the votes in the chat could show that a little bit more. Maybe it's going to go up after a couple of games. But it really depends on who starts, There's a slight chance. I don't see it happening. I think we'll probably see Jim Rising or
I feel
Cham
like they
open
almost
up.
always send Jim Rising out first. This is what I remember from like the previous years. It's always like, Jim Rising, you're our scout. Good luck and
Let's
fun.
go.
If you steal a map in a ZVZ or whatever, that's fantastic, maybe. If not, Cham and Juanito are there to save the day. I kind of feel that's Mexico's game plan in a nutshell.
Yeah. Well, back in NationWars 2, I remember they had Maker in the team, who was another Terran player.
Yep.
And he used to be the scout back then. And you know how he scouted? Double Rax proxy every single game. That's a good scout. That's a good scout. And you can take out some decent players. That was actually funny when they traveled to NationWars 2 finals. Maker opened up with a 2 Rax, lost, and didn't play again. That was pretty funny.
Okay, I think you're ready for the first game, and we have our starting players. It's going to be Jim Rising against Spazzy Mazzy.
Ooh, okay, some more ZVZ.
All right.
Feeling it.
Of course, Roddy. Of course,
the
Roddy.
ZVZ jiggle. Some people think it's a disease. I think it's just excitement.
That's the ZVZ jiggle, in case you're wondering.
So, vamos for the first game in the last series of the Day 2 NationWars 5, and it's going to be on Blackpink.
All right, Blackpink. Decent game for ZVZ, decent map for ZVZ, but, when you like ZVZ as much as we do, we like it on every map.
There aren't many people out there, Funka, who love it as much as we do.
Oh yeah, and we'll try to do a good job casting this one. So once again, you guys start to know this map, even if you're not like a precise StarCraft 2 fan. That's one of the maps that you will see early on in a series because it's part of those fairly standard maps. Biogenesis, you would not see that often, but yeah, Blackpink, classic map. I don't expect to see that much all-ins on this one, but we will see what they decide to do as we go in that first game of Mexico versus Denmark. In the top right, representing Denmark in the red, it is Spazzy Mazzy.
On the left bottom side, we've got the one and only. He's casting a lot in Spanish. He is a popular community figure in the Mexican scene, but he's also an excellent player. It's Jim Rising, also known as Jimbo.
Also known as...
What?
The Scout.
Jim?
What the hell?
Jimbo, what is this? A hatch block in ZVZ?
That's pretty sick.
What are these mind games, Funka?
I don't know. But the thing is, like, he went for a spawning pool first at the same time, so he does have this one a little bit
Jim Rising.
faster than his opponent, and he's doing pretty well for himself. That's a 1 minute and 10-second hatchery, as Jim Rising is taking his gas fairly quick, so he will have that advantage in terms of speed zerglings.
These are just these Jim Rising things that I cannot even bother to analyze. Like, I'm just going to be like, Jim, you do you, buddy. Like,
I don't want to say anything against your strategy.
No,
that sounds good. That sounds funny. That sounds interesting. Let's see if it translates into a proper advantage in his game. He does have a slightly slower hatchery because of that, but yes, he will have like probably a small window of opportunity to deal some damage to his opponent with his quicker spawning pool and quicker speedling upgrade. Or maybe he just skips it altogether and goes for a lair. We'll see.
Jim is a pretty aggressive player in general. He's been almost in every single matchup, especially, of course, in ZVZ, but also in ZVP. He loves to make this very heavy roach ling attacks. It's just something that he feels comfortable with. He loves to be out there on the map. He loves to produce units. Doesn't feel too comfortable with just sitting at home, macroing up, letting his opponent do whatever he wants. And that, of course, goes back to that weird drone scout hatch block we saw there as well. Just to throw your opponent off a tiny bit. You throw off their timings, and maybe it sets up some sort of a timing for Jim Rising himself. We'll see as we keep a close eye on that production tab.
Yeah, Spazzy Mazzy with the Baneling Nest super early. He will go into Speedlings afterwards. So that looks like a scared Zerg to me. Like, what was that opening? I don't really know what you're doing. I can't really scout your hatchery yet. He did see it like a couple of seconds ago, but he decided to go for the Baneling Nest earlier, because if you do get swarmed by mass Zerglings, it's not slower Zerglings and a fewer amount of them that's going to do the trick. You need those Banelings. So that does put him a little bit behind, but he does go for the third hatchery a little bit faster than his opponent. He will go and cross the map with a couple of Zerglings, trying to get some scout going for himself. And we'll see if he gets to go to the main. He will not. Confirms that there is no third base for now.
Yeah, it's funny with how this started off. Now it actually kind of looks like a very normal game. But once again, maybe it's just one of these things that Jim Rising likes to do, to throw the timings of his opponent off a tiny bit. Now he picks up those lings. He's morphing two Banelings as well. Where is Jim Rising morphing these Banes? Are these the... Okay, this is natural. I was getting really excited, Funk. I was like, how close are they to that mineral line? Well, actually,
they're actually in the main base, right in the mineral line. Oh my god!
They're on creep. It's just the wrong creep, actually. It's the defensive creep. Look at that Bane skin. Oh, I mean, that was not really necessary.
Trigger friendly a little bit, like, let's go.
That very spiky Baneling is very cute, though. I love it. Adorable.
Two more Banelings on the opposite side of the
It looks like one of those balls you can squeeze,
exactly. Stress balls.
Yeah.
Stress balls.
But, I mean, you got to be careful. It could explode with acid.
I'm not sure you should use that as a stress ball. Like, that's not going to go well for you. Okay, some more Zerglings from Jim Rising, trying to pressure that third base. Now some Banelings from Spazzy Mazzy. That was super close.
That's actually a great idea for a cardboard animation video. Imagine a Zealot holding up that Baneling, using it as a stress ball. As we've got a good little Ling Bane skirmish going on here. Explosions on both sides. Not really a massive victory for either player. But I don't think Spazzy Mazzy is going to take a lot of damage here. I think that Jim Rising tried to squeeze a couple of Zerglings into the main base. But maybe they already got picked up. Yeah,
he was about to. Well, it looked like he would go straight to the main, but then he changed his mind, tried to go on the natural, but at the same time, Spazzy wants to go super hard on the Ling and Banelings because he does he did produce like a couple of maybe 30 Zerglings and a lot of Banelings on the opposite side of the map already.
This is going to be a tough hold, I think, for Jim Rising. Yes, he does have the Queens in. Now he has 4 Banelings. Well, he uses 3 of them very quickly. Now these Banelings from Spazzy are going to show up as well. One Bane, of course, is not going to be enough. Economic damage will be done, but how much?
Oh, that's a nice split at the opposite side of the map. That was really, really sick from Jim Rising, but he will lose 9 drones, 12 drones, 15 drones. The entire mineral light of the natural of Jim Rising just disappeared in acid.
Damn, excellent counterattack here by our Danish Zerg players. He's not even done yet. He gets a few more. He's going to pick up a roach or 2 as well in the main base. And this almost seems like game-ending damage indeed, as Spazzy takes the 1-0 lead here for Denmark.
Yeah.
That's obviously an excellent way for them to start this nation war.
Of course.
Just solid gameplay out of our Danish Zerg. Nothing weird, nothing out of the ordinary. He realized that quite a few Lings were sacrificed on his side of the map, and he's like, all right, A, I defended with flying colors. B, I had a couple of extra Lings on the production tab. Let's see what I can get done. That wasn't an all-out, all-in, because he was droning up behind.
Yes. Yeah, you're right to mention it. So that was like a pretty easy victory for Spazzy on this one. As you mentioned, defending properly and just like... well, considering he just killed a lot of Zerglings, was able to counterattack his opponent, and I guess in a way Jim Rising was a little bit indecisive with his Zergling movement in the natural, in the main, lost a couple too many, and just in the end, well, didn't micro properly. Those roaches that he wanted to transition to just arrived a little bit too late to the party, and suddenly when you lose 18 drones, well, it's kind of tough to climb back from.
Yeah, looking back at it, you can obviously say if he had all the queens on top of the ramp in the natural, maybe he can create some sort of a wall override, throw up an Evo chamber just to buy some times for his own defensive Banelings, but then he loses his other hatches on the north side. And obviously you don't really want to play a game as a 2-base Zerg unless you feel like you're 12, 14 drones ahead. Then you can be like, okay, I'll sacrifice one of my hatcheries. I'm still in a good position, but that wasn't the case at all. Just, I mean, Spazzy looked good there, man.
Yeah, it did look good, and that's the Banelings we were mentioning, and the splits at the beginning looked really good.
Right now, 9 drones or something, like, look at them! But he's like, no, I can get more, and then, well, he indeed got more. Gets 9 there almost immediately. Gets those as well. At this point, we're all looking at, I believe, 18 drones going down.
Yep.
And, that's just a little too much.
That's the right kind of greedy. Like, yes, I can get more drones out of my Baneling. So that was really good from Spazzy. I mean, just in general, calm and connected. He realized that he had that advantage, and he pushed it, and he was able to claim the first victory in this clan war. So now the question is, who do you send? Do you go for another kind of ZVZ with like a slightly better, well, way better player, I guess, in Cham?
I mean, you say way better. And when it comes to WCS points and when it comes to performance in big events, I think not a lot of people will fault you for that. That Cham is indeed way better. But Jim Rising defeated Cham not too long ago at the WESG American qualifiers to get into that qualifier. So basically, maybe it's not that much better. Cham is obviously better. He's had better results, but it's not like we're talking like 3-4 leagues apart. You know, Jim Rising is within capabilities of beating Cham. So maybe I would actually go for special here, but then again, Juanito is also somebody who sometimes says like, you guys take care of it, you know. I'll show up and like Poland is here, or Germany is here, or the Netherlands is there. But right now, you guys get the
I'm not
done.
a qualifier player. I'm a top 4 player, you know. And actually, you're right. Well, it's Cham. It's Cham. Special doesn't want to play yet, so they're gonna try a different ZVZ, and we'll see if Cham is gonna be able to take down Spazzy, who didn't have to show that much to get that first win. Just a proper game plan and nice Zergling and Baneling micro.
Yeah, this is a very solid, straight-up game. Nothing you could take away from him, really. Wasn't even that much of an overcommitment. Of course, he had a few less drones when he made all those Lings and Banes, but he just defended a pretty serious attack. A lot of Lings went down, so it only makes sense that A, you use the units you still have out on the map, and then you may as well just sprinkle in a few more to see what you can get done here. But even if he doesn't kill 20 drones there, it's not like he's down and out. Like, yeah, his tech is behind, but I don't think that was like an all-out, all-in or something.
Yeah, I think he pushed it the advantage of having that natural base a little bit faster than his opponent and that third base faster than his opponent. And what can you do when you've got so much more lava? You can press the Z key and get some Zerglings and Banelings going. Second game will be played on Neon Violet Square, so that's a different kind of ZVZ. You can play it more defensive, maybe a slightly bigger map also, so we'll see if the Zerglings and Banelings will finish the deal, or if we actually go to get to go to the roach stage of this ZVZ.
I've got a question for you though.
Tell me.
What's the win record in ZVZ?
That's a good question, Roddy. I have no idea. I'd say it's about 50%.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it seems pretty balanced map in ZVZ, right?
It does. And you know that's a good meme, but you don't even know, because one of our casters is really famous for saying that this map was super balanced in ZVZ. He wasn't talking about Neo Violet Square, but he did say that at the beginning of the cast. I like this map. It's really balanced in ZVZ.
I guess balance is the wrong word, right? He could have probably gone for it's straightforward, it's fair, it's not crazy.
We like to make fun of our casters, you know.
All right.
That's what we do.
Who was it?
Toute.
Toute?
Yes.
That's why he retired, didn't he? All right, we're looking at the main base of our Danish Zerg player. He's taking a 1-0 lead for his nation. Can he put them in a great position and somehow take the 2-0 lead here? It's Spazi Mazi.
And his opponent in the bottom right, as the blue Zerg representing Mexico, it is Cham. Or Cham.
I'm a big fan of Cham, man. He's just a super likable guy.
Yeah.
He really did phenomenal for himself over the last year and a half. You know, once upon a time, he kind of squeezed in a WCS event when we had that silly single elimination round of 32 bracket, right? And actually won a series, had a very close series against Showtime back then in Tour, I believe it was.
I remember this one,
when he kept running queens to the other side of the map. And he's really grown tremendously ever since. I like Cham. I'm a big fan. Whoa, what's Spazi Mazi doing?
He went for a super early hatchery and early spawning pool, as you can see. And the difference in the drones are quite heavy. 19 drones to the 14 of Spazi Mazi. You will have slightly faster speedling, double queen, mass lava. This looks like an all-in to me. Yeah,
this is hard to scout as well, right? If you're Cham, you don't really want to sacrifice your Overlord that early on. You're going to scout. There's creepy, and you're like, oh, okay, everything is normal. I'm free to drone. Now, he is producing 6 Zerglings, so that's at least a few more than the regular safety. Only 2 links or perhaps 4. So there are some links to work with here for Cham. But right now, he just assumes that everything is very normal. He starts running up 21, goes to 23, while Spazi Mazi is actually banking up a lot of links. And with speed this fast, this is actually getting interesting.
It is a super dangerous build that he's trying for, and at the same time, Cham goes to 3 bases. He didn't connect with the fact that the creep was a little bit further than his. That's why I think that's what Kevin was trying to show us earlier. Yes, the hatchery was a little bit faster, but there's gonna be so many Zerglings from Spazi Mazi. Now Cham knows that there is no third base, but he doesn't know, and the speed is not done. He might get all his Zerglings circled.
Yeah, but you don't want to waste time, right? If you're Spazi Mazi, you just want to get to the other side of the map as quickly as possible with his bigger army. Look at Cham immediately evacuates the low ground.
Don't drill.
Oh no, he's actually gonna. Yeah, I guess he's gonna try to use this. This is cute, actually. Nurture does this quite often as well. So you build a little bit of a buffer for your own queens. That Baneling nest is very exposed. Spazi Mazi actually gets a surround on it. Is he gonna be able to get the Gensu on the Baneling nest before there are defensive banes?
He gets 1 bane.
Wow, well that's something.
Yeah, that's already something, and maybe this one is going to be the hero of the game. He doesn't see it yet. Those queens are getting demolished right now. It's going to be super tough. He knows about that Baneling. He should be able to split against it. Nice transfuse at the last possible moment on the ramp.
I mean, that 1 bane is actually pretty important, right? Really makes things awkward here. That 1 bane is a hero.
Everything.
No, yeah, it did a lot. It zoned. It provided safety and security. It finally does get detonated. But Cham bought a lot of time for himself. He has plenty of Zerglings out now as well. And I think with the 3 hatcheries, Cham has successfully defended because of his one bailing.
What a champ! That was really good from Cham. He reacted perfectly to the aggression that was coming his way with the double queen right away on the ramp, and getting those 2 transfuses were super key also. And as you mentioned, that lone bailing that scared Spazzy a little bit. He wanted to hug the queens as close as possible, but he couldn't do it. And now, as you said, with 8 more drones and also 3 hatcheries and triple injects, well, there's no way that Spazzy will win that numbers game.
No, I mean 3 hatcheries against 2 as well. Spazzy knows it. GG is called Chem with a sick hold there, man. I was really quite worried for him. He scouted it late, didn't really know what was happening. Loved the fact that he used a couple of those drones to provide a little bit of safety for the queens and just make it a little bit more annoying. Even if you attack move, right, sometimes your links are like, we're gonna ignore the drones, we're gonna go straight for the queens. So it's annoying. And that one Bane is like, sup, you guys wanna come on this ramp? Like, I'm right here.
You sure? I'm here, bro.
Yeah, and then you just lose so much potential DPS, because if you're Spazzy, you can't have 8, 10 Zerglings there, because then you're in danger of losing all of them at once. But if you only have a couple of them, then the queens just start winning that fight. So one Bane, hero of the game.
Oh yeah, definitely. Just before the Baning Nest died, well, great performance by Cham, but also Spazzy on the verge of leading 2-0. Yeah. That was a sick hold by Cham. So, we expected it. It's a close game.
So Denmark took the first point, but now Cham making it tie. So it's a close game, as you said.
Yeah, I mean, just fun ZVZ so far. Very short, actually. Short and explosive, but good to see some of Spazzy. He played, I think, if maybe casted once or twice, but really not that many times. When I look back at it, then I'm almost a little bit sad that he didn't play a more normal game against Cham, because I actually would have really liked to see if he was able to hold his own there, because what he showed against Jim Rising looked really good. But I also don't mind the gamble, Maybe he just feels like he's not a big fan of ZVZ on Neon Violet Square. Cham is actually a very scary ZVZ player to go up against. Like, yes, he did lose against Jim Rising a while ago, but he also has a couple of really good victories against some of those top European Zergs out there. So I don't mind it. He rolled the dice and, well, it was 7 out, but been there many times.
Been there, done that. But the format actually pushes you for those kind of strategies. And if you put your team in such a position when you're leading 2-0 and you already have to bring out like the big boss of the opposite team, then suddenly you feel really comfortable. So obviously nobody can blame Spazzy for trying that strategy.
And here we can see that the people still think that Mexico is going to win in this series. We have 82% for Mexico and 18% for Denmark.
All right.
So it's legit, right?
They're spamming that Dorito.
Oh, yeah.
For Juanito.
Juanito.
They want to see some of it. But yeah, no, obviously can't fault the people here. I mean, so far I think our view has been pretty spot on. Most of the predictions. How was it with UK versus Australia? It was a small lead for UK, right?
It was.
Yeah, they had that one
they believed in you. Yeah. Once again. And they should.
Yeah, I mean.
They should.
Wise things, right? Like you just follow your...
Okay, so we have the next player for Denmark. It's going to be Space Marine.
Damn, that was a fast countdown. Yeah. Do we have a countdown?
No.
Oh, okay.
Just knew right away.
You should have said, like, yeah, you were just talking for 30 seconds. I would have felt very self-conscious. I'm like, damn, that was a 30-second monologue? Really? Like.
Okay, so it's going to be Cham against Space Marine for the 3rd game in this last series of the day. So keep tweeting us. We're going to be back after a short break. And let's go. I mean... Welcome back for the 3rd game of Mexico-Denmark, and I'm here with Zombie Grub and Roti.
Hello.
Hello. So, if Denmark wins this game, so your prediction is gonna be right. So it might be. You might be right.
I predicted a 4-2 for Mexico, but I mean, if Denmark wins this game, they're actually on track to perhaps win the entire NationWars. I mean, obviously they're still
special afterwards, though.
Yeah, but I mean, if you can beat Cham, then who says you can't beat special? But I mean, then we're really getting far ahead of ourselves. Let's just see how this one plays out. This is a very fun one. Space Marine is a guy that I'm very familiar with. He's quite the experienced player, actually. He may not be like a very well-known guy overall. He doesn't really make like deep runs in a WCS event, but he's been there quite a few times, made a few appearances, also attended a few local tournaments in the Netherlands back in the days, like we travel back and forth. There was a small time where he arguably had the worst nickname change of all time, and he thought going through life as Kebab King was a good idea. So obviously, you know, we're all like, hey, mate, you know, we like you and we're telling you this is a friend. Switch back to Space Marine. That may not be the best name ever either, but it's a lot better than Kebab King.
But
and
I like Kebab King.
You like Kebab King? Well, then you're his only fan.
It sounds friendly.
Kebab King?
Friendly.
Space Marine sounds friendly too.
Yeah. Okay, so let's check out some tweets. So Pedro Maruquin has been tweeting, "Go Mexico, Team Juanito."
Oh, Horse TV. I like this time of year because I can show my amazing paint skills.
Vamos. Vamos. Or vamonos.
It's Sombra. That's a kid.
Yeah. Session the sport. Oh, someone is in the gym watching us.
Oh, that's so cool.
You know, tonight I'll be in the gym watching your tweet. No, just kidding. I'm not.
Oh, boy.
But it looks like a nice setup.
battle station
that
right
is
there,
a,
man.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's
Dang.
Okay, so we're ready for the third game in Mexico, Denmark, and it's gonna be Cham against Space Marine.
should be a fun one, Hajin. We're excited for it. Curious to see what map they will play. Obviously, we should know, but we're about to find out. It is. Oh, wow.
Okay.
I would have sent Lilla Cannon on a Biogenesis.
Yeah, well, I think it's always weird. Lucanine is really a weird player, but he's most known for mech too.
Yeah, but I mean, he's also familiar with proxies. Lilla Cannon loves his
That's
proxies
true.
and stuff, loves his
True.
weird builds. I don't like this map for PvZ. I really feel it's awkward. I have no idea when you're supposed to expand.
Yeah.
You know one build that's super good? A proxy hatchery here if you're Cham. If you just proxy a hatch on the other side of the map and then you make queens and roaches. This is such a bizarre map in Protoss vs. Zerg that I'm actually quite shocked not to see Lilla Cannon here, but obviously they had the choice. They decided to go for Space Marine. Maybe he's got something special planned.
Yeah, I really agree with you. I mean, even though Lucanine is known for his mech, he does have some strong bio pushes, and it is so weird for Protoss. But we'll see what his special tactics are as we are getting into Abiogenesis in the bottom right. As that red Protoss, he is Space Marine.
And on the left top side of this very tiny map, we're looking at the man who had some great games in NationWars last year. I remember a great game for Showtime on Vani Research Station. That was actually one of the most fun games of the entire tournament. And I'm sure he wants to have a few more of those. It is Cham. And when I say he wants to have a few more of those, then obviously be on the winning end, because he did lose that one. But he played a great game, Jess.
I believe you. I mean, Cham is kind of... He hasn't really been on the track to be the next big Zerg or even the next big player from Mexico, right? That's absolutely special. But coming up behind Specialist Cham, just a few ranks behind. He did barely not make it to BlizzCon, which was a huge surprise last year. And I felt like it was more about sneaking up than it was about him actually being the 9th best foreigner. But he's trying to prove that it wasn't a fluke, that he can do very well. Unfortunately, hasn't really gotten the results so far to prove that. But if he took a 3-1 here, a 4-1, if he killed the rest of the team here, then I think it would actually be a good start.
Yeah, no, obviously that would be a great way. A little bit of stat padding as well, going into the rest of the tournament, right? And you go into the round of 16, you can be like, yeah, I've already got 4 wins for my nation. But Space Marine and Lilla Cannon are nothing to scoff at. 2 very decent players in the European scene. I do fear for Space Marine once again, because I just don't see how you play a normal game on this map. Every Zerg all-in or aggressive build that you normally have to worry about, you have to worry about 3 times more on this map. Even just like if they make 12 links early on, the moment speed finishes up, you better have your wall off ready. What? He gets a robo? That's early? All right.
All right. Cham is definitely capable of going for those early all-ins. In fact, I think he's quite fond, even some days, of Roach Ravager all-ins against Protoss. And I can't see a world where he's like, this isn't an opportunity to do that. Because even if the Protoss knows it, expects it, the map length just makes it so easy to reinforce. And you bust the wall down, it's usually too much momentum to stop.
Now, robo openings have fallen out of fashion a tiny bit, just because it's hard to be aggressive with them, and you often give a lot of time for your opponent to be ready with it, as it seemed like we had a minor pause in this game. The reason why perhaps he's doing it on this map is because obviously this map is so small that you actually can get quite funky. At the moment you have like 1 or 2 Immortals out, you can do some very weird pushes here. Maybe even some good old Soul Train action. You know, Sentry Immortal, why not?
What was that one map? Oh, Rena?
Yeah.
I believe that was the map, right, with a small choke in the middle?
Yes.
I feel like this is a very popular push because you could just kind of go through and you could actually have some good fights abusing that choke. And I guess I could see the length of the map. It is going to get a little scary. There's a couple of good ramps to abuse as well if Cham is not out on the map because he's not expecting something aggressive, which, you said it's fallen out of the meta. Like, it's really not something that he would perhaps worry about, especially if he doesn't bother scouting at all here.
Yeah, but I think he scouted the robot, though. He's got an overload right on top of it. He knows about this robotics facility. I mean, this is kind of cute. It's sentries and a very fast Immortal. Now, obviously, the best unit against this, not the Zerglings, not the Roads. Actually, it's the Queen, guys. Queens are just phenomenal against, the Protoss armies in this phase in the game, because obviously the Queens can actually apply some real pressure on the Prism as well. Having a few Roaches is obviously nice, but that Immortal is the big problem for the Roach. So that's why it's nice to have, a couple Queens out there and actually make sure that Protoss can't just micro pick up forever.
Yeah. I mean, I think having Ravagers ended up being the real killer of the Immortal Sentry, because the Immortal Sentry was actually one of the original Protoss plans, Legacy of the Void. I mean, when it was seriously brand new, they're like, well, this is an old standard. Like, this will work out. And Ravagers really changed that up. So, I mean, yeah, Roach is not really the best way to go, although overwhelming numbers will still work out. I think it is supposed to be more about the Ravagers.
Yeah.
He adds a few more drones on, but goes back to making army.
A double Stargate behind this. Of course, Ravagers will also force the sentries to move away all the time, which is very frustrating for those units as well. But normally, this map is so small that I really don't think you have the bank to get like 4 or 5 Ravagers, right? Queens already actually doing quite a bit of damage on that Prism.
No.
Damn, that's not a solid way to start, because the Prism is the unit that provides all the micro potential here. And I actually don't really like how this is going for Space Marine at all. The double Stargate follow-up is cute and also perhaps even necessary, because he might be very nervous about a mass Roach counter, but this push hasn't really done much.
No, it hasn't. Now, Cham did forgo speed, as the Observer showed us, so if he's going to attack, I suppose he would reinforce with slow lings, but I mean, as long as they're like fodder, they're still effective. Point is, I'm worried that Cham is going to go for a counter Roach attack. He's starting Roach speed now, but he's got a lot of overlords on the way. I guess he's still a little worried about this army. His force fields can always cut it in half and cause big problems, but I think he has enough to defend and absolutely should go back to a little bit more droning.
I mean, the double Stargate Phoenix is obviously something I'm a big fan of, but this is just a very weird scenario to do it. Do you have enough on the ground? I mean, he has a robot. He's going to drop a couple force fields here. He may get a Roach or two, but corrosive balls are going to take care of one of those force fields. Now, recall being used means -2 Stalkers just like that. I almost feel, yes, I'm going to go there, that he needs to get a Twilight Console. He needs to get Dark Templars. Because, the Phoenixes can really snowball, right? And it takes a while before you get a bunch of Hydras out. But I'm kind of worried that if you make this many Phoenixes, your ground army is not going to be up to the task to deal with this ground Zerg army.
Yeah, there's just not really much on the ground for Space Marine, but Cham is not going to go for the counter. He's dealing now with a Warp Prism that is definitely meant to buy time more than deal like a lot of extra damage. Well, the 4 drone's not bad as long as it survives. He's getting up to a Hydralisk Den. So if we're going to see an attack, it's always going to be a while from now when Hydras are actually out in the field. And he's going to need enough Hydras to make sure they're just not picked off by the Phoenix.
Yeah, Cham is actually going to make Hydras immediately. I actually think a better thing to do here as a Zerg player is to bank up a little. Wow, +1 air weapons, how cool. I think it's better to actually save up some resources and then you produce 7, 8 Hydras at once. Because the moment you produce 1, 2, 3 Hydras at a time, the Phoenixes are going to be here. They're going to be able to pick up a couple of them immediately. He takes a little bit of damage there. Getting economic damage is great and also necessary because Cham was pretty far ahead. But what you really want to do is pick off the Hydras one by one because they are the expensive unit. That's the unit that matters the most.
I thought he would do this attack earlier. Doing it now almost feels like he's just like, okay, Phoenix, you got to come back home. He doesn't want that scenario you're just explaining happening. Yeah. But it might cost him the army. Like, the ground army, I guess it's not so much bigger than it was a minute or two ago, but it's got a lot more force fields and obviously a lot more Phoenixes to back it up. Now he's trying to reinforce across the map, but there's just not enough Hydras.
No, there's a couple. There's not that much energy left on these Phoenixes, though. Yes, he gets that final lift off. The Roaches have been mostly taken care of, but the Immortal actually went down during all of that. I mean, in the end, this is a successful attack because Cham has a much better economy. He forced the cancel on the Nexus, and now he gets the amount of Hydras that you want to get. 10, 11, 12 at once. Good luck with your Phoenix finding an opening against 12 Hydras. That's a lot of Phoenix, though.
It is a lot of Phoenix, and they're getting close to having +1. But I think if the third base wasn't canceled, it's actually a bit questionable. That third base was pretty close to finishing. That's a big restart in the economy for Space Marine.
-1 Phoenix there as well. The energy just isn't really there. And at this point, I feel the Hydra count is almost a little bit too high. The Prism still being active. Doing a little bit of economic damage. That's nice, but Space Marine still needs more, especially after losing that Nexus.
Yeah. He's trying to go along with, the rest of the plan here, getting a Twilight Council, and he has so many Phoenix that if the Hydras aren't there, they don't really care about a Spore Crawler. A lot of drones will go down, but they still are the backbone of his army. He's really his own only army, and if they're low on energy, that could be a really big problem for the Hydras.
I feel like I'm watching a Ruddy game here, man. He's making so many Phoenixes. He's getting charged now as well. But the biggest problem is when you play a style like that, you cannot be as outmined as Space Marine has been. Being down 16, 20 workers for this long, not having a third base, it's just difficult. And the Hydra, if you don't have Storm, if you don't have Colossus, you need to keep the army small. You want to be trading as a Protoss player. Right now, I think the Hydra count is easily over 20. Is that correct? Wow, it's over 30. Okay. Yeah, without Storm or Colossus, fighting against 31 Hydras, I've been there, Jess, and I have nightmares about it.
What's also really scary about this game? The creep spread has just not been dealt with at all, and it doesn't take much creep spread to get across the map on Abiogenesis. So we could have a situation where Cham is on the base of Space Marine with creep, so you can bring the Queens along, which is usually more of an all-in move. They have a lot of transfuses. They've been running with the Hydras to begin with, putting down more creep. He's going for it.
I mean, if you would be able to squeeze out like 24 Zealots or something with charge as well, then obviously if you can get on top of the Hydras, you can maybe make some magic happen. But this Hydra ball is big. There is a Guardian Shield in the mix. It's now or never for Space Marine. He's going to use some of the Phoenixes. You can clean up the Hydras on the south side. This is not a bad start to the battle, but all the Zealots have disappeared.
Yeah, a couple of Roaches are coming in to really help tank here against the Zealots, but they're already gone. So now they're just taking care of the Immortals. Phoenixes still have a bit of energy left over, and they're taking out a ton of Hydras, but even the Queens coming here are going to take out the last few Phoenix.
Pretty good effort there by Space Marine, but a little too much money in the bank. Imagine if he has 11 extra Zealots there. With that final fight, I like the way how he separated his Phoenixes and went for the Hydras on the south side. That's really the way you want to use your Phoenix. You can't fly them on top of a big ball. You have to kind of swoop in from the side. Some good moves, but yeah, I think that one cancel on the Nexus was really the nail in the coffin. It's just tough to come back from that if you play a double Stargate style.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was almost a mistake of Cham. You're right. If there was a couple extra Zealots, 11 extra Zealots, then the mistake of putting all those Hydras on the south side, I don't think it resets the game necessarily because so many Phoenix still would have died, but it would have made the game continue on, and there's more options for everything else to happen, things go wrong. But Cham now has 2 wins under his belt, looking pretty good.
Yeah, Cham's looking on fire. He also had a Templar Archives finishing up, like an Archon or 2 there as well. Like, it's not the splash damage that you dream of 31 Hydras, but if you can, pick off 12 Hydras, then solidly it's a little more manageable, right? You have a bunch of Zealots, an Archon, an Immortal, a Guardian Shield, and then maybe he could have made some magic happen, but yeah, just the economy never really got going. I really think this is the most crucial phase in this game. You look at the army supply. I actually think if that Protoss army is in position, he doesn't have to lose that Nexus at all. It's a bunch of Roaches, and I really think that Nexus was savable. And, in the end here, he loses the Sentries, loses the Immortal. The Phoenixes, obviously, since they were lifting the Roaches at first, it takes a while to kill a Roach. You kill Hydras very fast. This just didn't really work out.
Yeah. Always an odd game in Abiogenesis. It probably affected the Protoss' build a little bit, and now we're going to have our last player from Denmark coming out here.
Also sad to see that the Prism push, I felt like there was a little more potential there, right?
Yeah.
Like a Sentry that early and an Immortal, a little bit of juggling, you drop a couple of Force Fields. There's only 1 Ravager there, because Zerg doesn't have the gas to make 5 or 6 Ravagers, but yeah, if before the battle starts, the Queens are like on this Prism. That's
pretty bad.
Yeah, that takes away all your micro potential, so that was kind of sad.
It was, yeah. Things have also gotten a lot worse, I guess. Talking about things that could have gone better, could have gone a lot worse, could have been surrounded. But we are, of course, going to, not the last map of this series, but maybe the last player. I don't know who they would send on an ace. Maybe it depends on how good Lilicanin looks, but it's going to be an acid plant.
I know. Lilicanin, I think, is the most successful player from Denmark at this point, so I feel like he is the most likely guy to get picked as an ace, but perhaps actually Lilicanin can just turn it around. Let's not count him out. He is the European mech god as we are getting ready to hop into Acid Plant. I don't think that's the map that Lilicanin necessarily dreamed of, but obviously Denmark had the choice, right? They could have either started him on a Biogenesis or an Acid Plant. And I'm sad. I feel like I've been robbed of my Lilicanin proxy on a Biogenesis. Like, what's going on here?
Maybe he proxies on this map because it's just so unexpected.
Perhaps.
Yeah. But I want to go back to, I've cast a lot of Lilicanin. Actually, you know what? Let's do the intros before we get into it. Too far. Acid Plants. And we have in the bottom right, now coming out for Denmark, it is the Red Terran Lilicanin.
Even a little Danish pronunciation there. Lilla Kannen. You did well, Jess.
Thank you.
Over here on the left top side of Asset Plant, we're looking at the main base of our Mexican Zerg, who's looking good so far in this nation war. It's Champ.
Not the player I pinned the 4-1 for, but definitely could be. But yeah, I was going to talk about Lilikanen. I get to cast him a lot. He's a very fun player to cast, so it's always a treat when you see him in the open brackets. But even though he's well known for his cheeses and for his mech, definitely for his mech, he does have a couple of bio pushes when he feels like it's a surprising thing to do or he's a decent shot. And Asset Plant has a couple of great tank spots that are more for like a Terran push in the mid game. But of course, if he is going to go mech, then they are also great spots for those later game pushes around 150 or even maxed out.
That's absolutely possible, but I still kind of feel that at a moment like this, you want to do what you do best. And that is probably making a lot of Hellions, Cyclones, eventually Ravens, and a whole bunch of siege tanks. And Lilikanen, a big fan of the Tor as well. I always feel that he's pretty Tor heavy in his max out compositions. But let's see if Cham lets him get there. Cham is excellent in getting up to, let's say, 50, 51 drones, and then just running across the map with a bunch of roaches. We've seen a lot of very popular like Ravager, Roach, Link timings lately from the Zerg, like right before Terran truly gets their first 2 tanks set up. Often they maybe have 1 tank, but a simple tank is not enough against those kind of pushes. Yeah. So let's see how Cham decides to approach this one.
It really, like, those type of pushes really depend on how well, of course, the execution of the build order comes down for the Terran, but also were there any outliers? Did they do a Hellbat push? Did their Banshees fail? Did they just go for a Hellion drop, which is, you know, actually kind of popular now? And how quickly can they add on those 2 tanks or maybe those 2 Thors for Thor drops?
Where is that SCV going? I've seen a couple of proxy starports. I actually casted a super bizarre game. It was a TVZ on this map. I forgot which one it was, but I think maybe it was... I think it was Raynor versus Juanito actually on this map, where a special proxied a starport on the left side of Asset Plant. And you want to know? It survived for 22 minutes. And eventually even had a reactor on it, on the left top side at 9 o'clock. It's the silliest thing. A Raynor scouted it, but every time he wanted to kill it, something else was happening in the game. So that stupid starport survived for 22 minutes and even had a reactor on it as well in the end. And started squeezing out Vikings for a macro game. One of the craziest things I've seen.
Yeah, that's amazing. We actually have Lilikanen going old school, I want to say, 3cc before that starport. It's realistically the fastest command center, third command center you can get in this matchup, although I guess someone out there has a 1-rack triple CC build. Now the Hellions provide just enough scouting and fence, while the Reaper ideally lives long enough and it's still alive, so it would see maybe if there's drones in the third or maybe get back into the main.
Overlord getting very close towards his main base of Lilikanen. There's obviously nothing to prevent this scout. Nothing shoots up right now in the Terran arsenal. So Cham is going to get an excellent scout there, and then Cham, you're supposed to get an excellent scout here.
That's not all I need to see.
What a lazy ass Overlord.
I mean, he kind of saw the starport lift over, so maybe he's questioning the starport timing anyways. But
or maybe he just thinks Lilikanen is bad. He's like,
my god, that'd be hilarious.
You missed. You messed up your build late starport. I'm not gonna lose to you. That is amazing. How did he not see this command center?
I really feel like the starport being a little bit off, no Hellions making their way even to the front of the natural until just now, but it's so slight that, like, he must think that it's really just Hellion Banshee off of 2 base, 30 is coming down later. This might not be the biggest difference when you consider everything that goes on in a game that could go 20, 30 minutes, especially if it's mech, but I feel like it actually is. Like, he is an aggressive Zerg. This would just make him believe even more that he can go for an all-in.
Yeah, Cham is making quite a few roaches at this point. We'll keep a close eye on that production tab. Obviously, these could be safety roaches to deal with the Hellions that he's expecting. But we've seen a lot of Zergs lately just make a few more, and then a few more Zerglings as well, and then potentially go for a counterattack. Well, Lilikanen obviously just wants to get a little bit of economic damage done, because right now, 38 SCVs, third CC or orbital done already. I mean, this is a really good economic spot for Lilikanen to be in.
It absolutely is. He's adding on an armory right now, so we might see a Hellbat Banshee attack somewhere, but of course it's going to be a little bit later. It's really not an aggressive, I'm going to kill you type Hellbat move. And it might even be for the Thors, more importantly, later on when he does add those factories. But if he's going to go mech, and it seems that way, it is a lot more about the gas. How fast can he actually plant the third base down? Does he feel safe enough to do that?
The little cannon throws down a scan in the main base. I think maybe he wants to see if there was an opening for some of his Banshees. He activates Cloak here, but 2 Queens and an Overseer are going to push this Banshee away very quickly. I think the little cannon should probably feel safe enough now to float that Orbital over. I
actually think that he really should.
Yeah.
Having a lot of SCVs is always good, but it is the limiting factor of mech, especially in the early game. Surprisingly, in the mid game and late game, you see a lot of mineral banking, or gas banking, but now it's all about the gas. Getting an extra 5th and 6th geyser as fast as possible is super important, and he's safe to do it.
Like, I understand that Lilican perhaps had some fear of losing his Hellions and then somehow missing Chem going for a counterattack, but I would have loved to see, if you play this economic, suicide a couple of Hellions, dive into a mineral line, get a couple drones, because that often distracts your opponent as well, and that allows you... Well, there is a Zergling in my base. And that allows the Banshees to find an opening here and there as well. I just kind of feel that if you play this economic, it would be really nice, because then any bit of extra economic damage you can do on the other side of the map, I feel like it almost counts double. And I'm a little bit sad to see that he just decided to stay at home and be like, well, you know, I'm in a good economic position, which he was for a while. But if you give Zerg this much freedom, look at Chem. He's suddenly 27 workers ahead and already going up to 4 bases.
It is always a little scary to let the Zerg be the one to say, okay, nothing's happening, let me just drone up. But Terran can be scary as well. I think that scouted the 4CC, which that is fast, but I guess he was banking minerals. Will he be able to survive the Roach Hydra push still? I mean, the extra gas geyser is really fast, really helps out. He now has a couple of production facilities. And I think he's going for double upgrade. Second armor just finished. But planning a 4th down, that seems awfully ambitious.
Did any drones go down in this game?
I don't think so.
No, I mean,
nothing.
Yeah, I just feel like if you open up with this amount of Hellions, you've got those Banshees as well, you want to get something down. At least you want to absolutely push the creep back, maybe find an exposed Queen somewhere, but Chem has been getting a lot of freedom. And of course, yes, Little Cannon opened up with an economic opening, so he's not able to do like tremendous amounts of damage, but I would have just loved to see him keep Chem in check a little bit more, do a little bit of poking. And once again, Hellions are great sort of as an alley-oop play for the Banshees to do a little more. You have 3 Cloak Banshees and nothing has died. I mean,
it's a little weird. I think we all really enjoy watching like the mech masters. Gumiel comes to mind, going for the Hellion run-bys, into the Banshee harassment, into the double Thor drop on the 4th, like consistent pressure. But Lily Canine has been the guy that's always hoped that the defensive power of mech will see him through to the Supreme late game. And it's a question that I had. I haven't cast this guy in a couple of weeks at least. I don't know if he's really embraced the Ravens, but I gotta imagine that he has.
I'm sure he does. As these Hydras find the Banshees in. Not sure where the Overseer is, but once again, the Banshees not really getting what they're looking for. Not even a cancel on that potential 5th base of Chem. Chem already getting the Infestation Pit. I'm very happy to see that. Would obviously love to see Hive as the real key unit to go up against mech is obviously the Viper, right? You get a couple of Vipers, you start abducting a few tanks, maybe throw in a Blinding Cloud in the mix, land a Parasitic Bomb if they go very heavy on Ravens and Banshees. Just all 3 skills of the Viper are super useful against everything that Little Cannon is doing.
It just doesn't feel like he really got enough from this faster 3rd CC. We have a push coming through, and as well as no Vipers, there's not that many units. They are going into a choke. We got some Banshees with no Overseer, I believe. It's always a little bit scary. Cham's not going to commit. But if he opens up those rocks, if he sees that the 4th is on location, he can really start splitting and looking apart.
A few SCVs getting picked off. I mean, can we take another look at the units lost so far? Because once again, this is now an almost 10-minute game of ZVT, and not a single drone has gone down. That's just not a good sign. That's not where you want to be as a Terran player. Zerg produces workers faster than any other race. Now, of course, Terran has mules to keep up with that, but it's kind of the name of the game that you do a little bit of economic damage against the Terran.
So this 4th wasn't set down on location at an absurd time. It was taken pretty quickly, but he just was hoping that Cham, it feels like, wouldn't scout it. This does not seem like a game where Likinen can survive to get to those starports, which he's trying to do. I think he depends on the Zerg player kind of being like, wait, what's happening? I'm not going to explode with macro, like Cham has absolutely done and is ready to go for the kill.
Cham has swallowed up the map. Take a look at Cham's map vision. He's everywhere. Cham literally sees pretty much everything he needs to see, other than those 3 tiny bases that Little Cannon has. Like right now, I picture a little Terran space shoulder. soldier sitting in the corner, hugging a blanket, hoping that it's over soon, knowing that the swarm is coming. This is not the way to win a game of StarCraft 2.
I think he fit in their command center, but if it's 4 bases and I see the situation and I'm actually even on Cham's vision, I'm actually still like okay for the Terran. If they can actually hold on 4 bases and get to mass Raven, they start taking absurd trades, and Zergs are still having a little bit of trouble against that. But the fact that he's on 3 and still doesn't have many Ravens at all, he's going to be just pushed with Broodlords eventually. The Spire did just finish. I'm actually surprised he hasn't already started. There we go. There it is. And there's just not enough of an air threat yet that Lee King can hold against this.
Look at the bank of Cham. He's been maxed out, already sitting at almost 5,000 minerals. I love the way how he's got 2 armies, one on the right top side, one over here as well, just to make it harder and harder for Lillecannon to go up to 4 bases and get those refineries you so desperately need if you want to play the way that Lillecannon has been doing. I feel that Lillecannon has almost been playing a style where he's convinced that Cham is going to run units into him of a good but not super good economy, and it's all about surviving for Lillecannon, but that has actually not been the case. Cham has played a rather passive game, and he's just controlled it. That's a lot of idle SCVs, by the way.
It is.
Control F1, one of the best hotkeys in the game.
There we go. It is worth noting that the upgrades for Lee King are quite good. He is on his way to Ravens, and if he can get to about 6 or 7 Ravens, I think that it does start putting into question. But it looks like Cham doesn't really want to let him get there. Does he really have a choice now, though? This is not the 60 army supply he had earlier. Above his opponent, it's actually even, and he's maxed out, so he'll have to give away some units. But he is on his way to Broodlords. Can Lee King get enough Vikings and Ravens to hold off against the Broodlords? Not this push.
These are obviously not fights that Cham is dreaming of, guys, but I also don't think he minds that much. A, he's super rich, and B, you need to free up a little bit of supply because he wants to get those better units out there. There are the Vipers, there are the Corruptors. He could morph a couple of them into Broodlords as well. The creep is absolutely ludicrous. Still not a single drone has died, by the way. I want to see if Cham can keep up with this flawless game, but I believe we're looking at our first dead drones. Look at Cham. He's like, no, not the drones.
No, never the drones. Great scouting, Corruptors, Vipers. I don't think that Lee King didn't expect this, though. He has not done any damage. Oh, there we go.
Okay.
But replacing 20 drones is actually not that big of a deal.
No.
It's not even 20.
Solid barbecue as 9-10 workers do go down, but Cham had way too much freedom in this game. Like, I don't want to compare Lillecannon to Maru because that's obviously not fair, but he even got the Hyperflux Rolls, right? You look at the Maru game, those Banshees are everywhere. They feel like the most annoying unit in the universe to go up against, and he lost 2 out of 3 Banshees right before his upgrade finished up. And Cloak didn't really do much for him, and now Hyperflux Rotors also didn't do much for him.
I'm still on the side of Cham here, but I am a little worried that Lee King could get up to that Raven army.
I have a feeling that our game is going a little too fast, Kev. It felt like it was going super fast, or am I crazy?
I don't know. I keep seeing like lag, but I'm not sure if it's our monitor or what. Yeah. But it does feel a little weird.
They're messing with us, guys, at home. Hopefully on the stream it's fine, but they're playing tricks on us.
A lot of upgrades are on the way for Cham, but he is having a difficulty finding that perfect area of attack. Missile turrets are down. Vipers did pull a couple of tanks, but the Ravens got some awesome splash damage, continue to do so, and Cham just has to back off. And this is what I was afraid of, that he wouldn't kill Lillecannon, that he wouldn't stop the 4th CC, and now he might not be able to stop the 5th. And Mass Raven proves to be quite good, and some Zergs have a lot of trouble against that. I don't want to say it's unbeatable or it's too good, it should have been patched, but you can't deny that some Zergs have trouble against it.
I will absolutely believe if he gets a 5th base, but I still feel that's very crucial, and it almost feels a long way off, as we have a couple of Hellions trying to get a little bit of damage done over here. But we've got 8 Broodlords on the way, 11 additional Corruptors as well. These Vipers should have plenty of energy, right? They actually took a little bit of damage already, but I still look at this. I look at a Zerg army, I look at a Zerg bank that as long as Cham takes a half-decent trade here, it's going to be fantastic for him.
All right, we're going to see the fight happen. I mean, it's being started, being pressured, being forced by the Broodlords. Is Lillecannon really ready to go? He already lost some energy on those Ravens, but he has quite a few. Blinding Clouds are amazing on the Thors. They're really not helping much at all. And there's not enough Raven anti-army missiles to actually take out the Broodlord army.
Now, Corruptors do take a lot of damage on top of these Tors as well, but those Blinding Clouds were absolutely phenomenal. The Tors, are they focusing the Broodlords? Yes, they sort of are, but he's losing the Vikings as well. That Planetary put in some really good work, though.
The Blinding Cloud disappeared, and suddenly those mass Thors and just a few tanks on the ground were enough to combat the army. The anti-armor missile, okay, everyone loves the big splash that it makes, the mass amount of damage that it does, but never forget that it does what it's said to do, anti-armor. It takes away armor, makes everything so much more effective, and Lily Canine had maxed out upgrades, which in a lot of mech games doesn't happen for another minute even. That was a big win there for Lily Canine. I think he also saved so many of his Ravens. How many does he still have?
5.
Oh, actually, he lost more than I thought. My bad. But he still has the economy to replace a lot, and that's going to be a fight that could happen again, maybe even better when he's not choked in by the Blinding Clouds.
I love it. You're a real believer of this mech army, aren't you, Jess?
I'm a believer of Master Raven.
I am kind of like Todd, where I don't necessarily look at the supply, but I look at the minimap, and all I see is purple, and purple spells doom for me.
But, like, okay, so there's been a couple games like Bjorn even, where you actually went bio in a Mass Raven. It doesn't matter if the Zerg takes 1 billion bases if you take fights that are literally like, 1 to 10 on the resources lost, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of where Lily Canine wants to go. He's still maxed out, he's still an even supply, and he's getting a better supply every time he makes a Raven.
Yeah, if that Raven count gets a little higher, I'm going to join Team Just there. But I mean, I want to see then at least 12, 13 Ravens, and I also kind of feel that Ghost is a necessity there. I feel like Ghost is really the icing on the cake, and I understand that's very hard to control. I mean, he is kind of securing this 5th base now. He's got a Planetary over here. I honestly did not think we were going to see this, as he's producing 3 Ravens at a time. Now, indeed, I am with you that Cham needs to take a much better fight than he did before, as he lands a Parasitic Bomb that doesn't do much.
No, it wasn't really complicated. Lily Canine easily split from that. Thors aren't being abducted, or were they abducted? Is that why they're supposed to go forward? Well, they're not being taken out very quickly, is the point. Lots of anti-armor missiles on the Broodlords to weaken them up. Not so much of the Corruptors, though.
Those Hydras and Roaches actually doing quite a bit of damage on these Tors, right? There's nothing really... Where are they? Are there any tanks? Yes, the tanks are there, but they're shooting at Broodlings mostly. And that allowed these Hydras to do a lot of damage, and this mech army is actually disappearing very quickly. Yeah,
not enough of those anti-armor missiles. And then the tanks, it's so hard to continue to focus fire with tanks. You focus fire once, and then they go back to the Broodlings. And this is the fight Cham was looking for. Lily Canine breaks, and he will not be able to remake that army this time.
No, I mean, he has 91 gas in the bank. He does have a couple of Ravens and Tors on the way, but he simply lost a few. Too many expensive units there. It's obviously tricky, right? Because you want to make sure that the Tors focus at the right units, and then you have to keep refocusing with the tanks. Those Hydras and Roaches on the left side there were simply doing way too much damage on top of the Tors. They were not supposed to be able to do that much damage, because if you have 4 or 5 tanks there, those units get obliterated.
Yeah. Much different than the fight just before, but the point is Cham has broken Lily Canine's back and is just going to continue reinforcing. Lily Canine knows it's GG.
That purple.
Yeah, it was quite a purple map.
Solid performance there, though, by Cham. I kind of see where Lily Canine is going with it. Obviously, he feels very confident if he maxed out with the Ravens, with the Tors. But I still feel, despite the fact that you open up with 3 Cs, and I understand the fear, the danger of either dying against a Nidus or against one of those silly Roach Ling Ravager timings, I still feel that it's your duty as a Terran player that if you make 6 Hellions and you make Cloak Banshees, that you kill some freaking drones on the other side of the map. And I don't say suicide your units blindly, but he just kept the Hellions at home. It
wasn't any pressure. You combine the Hellion and the Banshee, take out a couple Queens, you stop the creep spread. You can even get a quick down on a 4th that's just planted down if you're quick about it. There's a lot of things that were missing from, if you compare it to Maru, of course. So,
like a Zerg going up to 80 workers without losing a single drone up to that point in the game. Zerg produces units very fast. Even if they make a few safety units early on, if you then give them 2-3 minutes of freedom, guys as good as Cham will capitalize on that.
Yeah.
What a crazy game here. So that brings on 3-1 for Mexico. So only 1 player left, 1 revive for Denmark. So who's going to get revived, you think?
It's actually, I feel like Lily Canine would say like he want to do that again, but well, what's the next map? Oh, well, Lily Canine would say, I can do that again and I can fix the fights if that happens. But then Spacey Maisie, I mean, I know he all-in Cham and it didn't work out. He had some good ZVZ. Maybe they throw him out another ZVZ.
This is actually one of those scenarios where you could use all 3 players. Honestly, I actually think Space Marine is very good as well.
Yeah.
And if he plays on a map that's slightly better there for Protoss, like let's say the next map is Backwater, right? Maybe Hajin could tell us what the next map is.
It's gonna be Eastwatch.
Eastwatch. Okay.
Interesting.
I mean, a lot of choke points. Smack it up.
I think it's a Lycanin.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be too great for a late game Terran like him, assuming that he survives there again, not to send him out.
Yeah, I think I'm with Jess here. It's a very large map. It's a map with a lot of potential choke points as well if you get a bunch of tanks. Jam loves his roaches and hydras, and normally if he doesn't get that much time, at least he's more aggressive with those units. So can we look smart one time, Jess?
Maybe.
Okay, so now we know the revived player is gonna be Lycanin against Cham, and it might be the last game of the day actually.
Kind of feeling that way. Cham's on fire.
Yeah. So I hope you're enjoying the game, and we'll come back after a short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back with us. I'm with Funka and Zombie Grub for Mexico and Denmark, and it might be the last game of today.
Yes, it very well might be with the revival Lil Cannon. It was so close of making it work, like he was getting the number of Ravens he needed. After that, I'd say poor fight from the Mexican player on that 4th base, he was able to get a 5th one, and that's exactly what you want when you're taking it slow, as Lil Cannon was trying to do. But then that other fight happening on that 5th base, I think it was slightly worse from Lil Cannon and also way, way better on the Zerg part.
Yeah, absolutely. The Blinding Cloud with the second to last fight looked amazing, but didn't actually affect the major points of the battle. So that's why I was like, oh, wait a second. But that last fight was the classic, Mass Thors can be good, but not if their own tanks are firing on them, situation that a lot of mech players find themselves in. So a couple more minutes, more Ravens, maybe those ghosts included, very different, but it was always a situation of I needed a couple more minutes for Lycanin.
Jess, I've got a question. Why is every single Terran unit trying to hurt themselves? What is this?
Man, we have the
Tanks kill each other, Widow Mines
fire.
kill each other, even Raven Maysal can affect your own units. What is this?
God forbid Parasitic Bomb did damage to itself.
No.
Oh my god.
No way.
No, I mean, no.
Terran Whiners over there. Yeah.
I guess Blinding Cloud does affect Zerg too.
Yeah, it does.
I'll give them that much. But.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're gonna find out right now if Mexico is gonna get qualified for the next round.
All right. Let's see what the next map will be. I'm not really sure for now. It's going to be Eastwatch. Okay. So, once again, I'd say, and that might be the reason that they're reviving Lil Cannon, I think it's a really great map for the style we just saw.
Yeah, exactly. We went through all the players for Denmark, and we were like, okay, each of them had a decent shot. Even if their games weren't the super best, I think they had other things to prove they could. But Eastwatch comes up as that map, and Lycanin has to be the choice because it's not just about can mech work on this map. I actually think that's not even a given that mech is perfect for this map. But I think late game Terran is a given for this map.
Yeah. Whether it is Ghosts, whether it is Ravens or stuff like that, you've got opportunities to exploit those tiny choke points. There's a sizable number of bases that you can get as well. I think there's 20 bases in this map or something like that.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, obviously you will be able to get those extra bases and those extra resources to make it happen in the late game. Let's see if he can do it in the repeat of last match. In the bottom left, the Danish player. In the red, it's Lil Cannon.
And in the top right, as the blue Zerg, it is Cham. Making sure that special doesn't have to come out.
Yeah, maybe he doesn't have to. And that would be a happy Juanito. You guys can take care of those Danish players. I don't want to play. As we said with Roddy earlier, yeah, Juanito is more of a top 8, top 4 kind of guy. If he can avoid playing some games that he doesn't really want to play, of course, he's always going to take that opportunity. And for now, well, Cham is holding his own, playing really well. And yeah, I think like in general, he showed that he knew how to face Little Cannon's style. He probably expected it as well, because if we know that Little Cannon is playing this kind of style of Terran, obviously Sham knows this as well. And yeah, the way he planned out the game he just played against Little Cannon, well, just in general, it showed like he knew what he was about to face. And even though he had a pretty poor fight on the 4th base, then after that, he just took every single right call.
Yeah, he did. Eastwatch is going to be it's a difficult map for Zerg. I think initially when even the public saw this map, certainly when I saw it, I was like, oh, I can definitely see how Zergs can take advantage of how many avenues there are, like lots of counterattacks, a lot of terraforming on this map as well. Some Zergs, I think, smartly decided that mutas would be better on this map than just typical Ling Bane Ling Hydra, because Terran is the one that takes advantage of how many walls are here. Walls that you can shoot over makes no sense physically, but you can do it. So there's a lot of siege opportunities, which is why I want to say I see a lot more bio. It's that mobile bio army with tank that gets across the map and then sieges and then rallies very quickly. You can go mech. You can obviously get tanks with mech, and you can abuse those same situations, but it's not as fast. Tank mech pushes come a lot later.
Yeah, for sure.
Hopefully when, Cham has Vipers and Broodlords and all that.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, usually when you play bio on this map, I feel like quite fast you just feel overwhelmed by the number of bases that the Zerg can take. Also, like, creeping the map is not that hard, I would say, and you can exploit that as well, and that's kind of cute.
Yeah.
So if you plan on taking it long, if you plan on taking a lot of bases, but also like playing kind of greedy at the same time, getting that early 3rd CC in the bottom right, not being scouted right away by Cham, is a good opportunity. Also, Lil Cannon lost the last game, even though he kind of reached the point that he wanted to have. So getting that slight advantage playing like that ninja expansion is not that bad of a call, I think.
No, but it's funny, like, I think that Lil Cannon has a shot if he gets that same situation as last game.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But it wasn't the 3rd CC's fault of being on location, and it wasn't even technically scouted, that cost him the game. In fact, it didn't even really seem to matter, as Cham was like, okay, I guess we're going macro, and then really took over the map, took over the game, and I don't know what really if it's a great idea to hide it, but we'll see. He's trying to hide the starport as well.
I think that's one of the first times I've ever seen that. Like, no, dude, I'm playing bio. I'm researching Stim. I don't have a starport.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Funnily enough, the lack of starport just is like even more like likely there's a 3rd command center.
It actually is kind of weird. I do agree. Like, no starport doesn't make that much sense, but at least he tried to sell a story that's not going to happen in this game, as we see Banshee with Cloak being researched right now, a couple of Hellions being built, and also that third CC who's just finished turn into an orbital. So economically speaking, Lil Cannon feeling pretty good about himself right now. Hasn't been scouted yet with that base, muling as much as he can. And Cham building some safety roaches, I would say, but 7 is already a pretty high number.
Yeah, it
and
is.
9 now. Actually,
yeah, I was
9,
like,
10?
If it goes any more than that, that's when I'm like, wait a second. So he gets the roach form, but doesn't get the lair, which I'm pretty sure he got like around the same time last game. And I was like, oh, okay, wait a second, what does this mean? But he's got to be careful. I don't know if he was able to look at that game or anyone told him, but Lil Cannon did make 2 Cyclones and then obviously had 3 Banshees. He's kind of like, he's got good roach defense, but maybe missing those Cyclones this game, the game where it was probably the most important to have them, as we have roaches and lings flooding across the map.
That looks hard for Lil Cannon. He doesn't have that much units to fend off against those roaches, so of course that Banshee might be useful, but he doesn't want to get it destroyed already. With those queens in the middle of the map. Now the cloaking field is done, so he should be okay. He will actually use it.
He has no idea. I mean, he got a 2nd armory. He's getting a 4th CC.
My god! And now
the
he
Ravagers
sees
are
it.
hidden.
I think he saw the Ravager, but did he actually see them?
What can he even do though at this point? Like, I guess he can continue making Banshees, and that's not bad. Kill them faster. Actually, the Banshees finally find the road, which is really, really important. But there's already so much
Ravagers?
army over there.
Oh my god, that wall is gonna explode instantly, and there is no tanks to be seen, only a couple Hellbats against a massive amount of Ravagers, and I think that's gonna be super tough for Lil Canin to hold. Of course, he's got a lot of SCVs, he's got 3 CCs, he's got everything in the world if that game goes longer, but I don't think that's gonna happen, Jess.
Yeah, he really needed to scout this. I mean, even if he had gotten the blind 2 Cyclones, they still wouldn't have been in a decent enough position to even help, really. He needed to scout it, he needed to get the Banshees on top of the units immediately, and then try and hold the wall as long as possible. I'm pretty happy to see that Cham is like, nuh-uh, you're not going to get to the late game this time. I know exactly where your weakness is, and is absolutely taking advantage of it.
Yeah, perfect timing, perfect strategy by the Mexican Zerg, and they will qualify to the round of 16. We're just waiting on the GG, and there it is. GG! Mexico is in the top 16. That's what we expected, but yeah. Denmark just fell short a little bit on this one, and yeah, 2 games in a row. Yeah, Cham said, I know where I can kill you.
Yeah,
I don't want to wait for half an hour.
Exactly, it was absolutely perfect. Cham was not the guy that I expected to take the 4-1. I said it was a possibility, but I really thought Special might have to come out at some point. But I'm glad to see that he's proven to the world, like, yeah, I'm that serious contender. Number 9, not going to get to BlizzCon this year.
So congratulations, Mexico is joining the 7 other nations to the round of 16. So we haven't seen Major here, so are you quite disappointed at all? But Cham carried his way, like, we expected that.
It's okay, I guess. Like, Special will get to play on the next round. Like, there is no way that Cham or Jim Rising just all kill their way to the group, to the round of 8. I don't see it happening. So it's just like, with great players, you want to build expectations. You're like, I don't know, he didn't play yet, he didn't have another all kill, we will have to wait. And that's, you know, when you like StarCraft, you can wait.
Of course, yeah. I would never say I'm disappointed I didn't see Special, even though he's an awesome Terran to watch, because we got to see Cham, who's that up-and-comer. I want to have the spotlight on him. And we also got to saw Lil Canin. You know, he lost, but he's always a fun guy to watch. So I was really happy with this series.
All right.
Yeah, and definitely in round of 16 is going to be harder than this round. Sorry. So let's take a look at what happened today, the results. So who are the 4 nations moving on to the next round? So we have China, Finland, Mexico, and Ukraine, who didn't get to play, but they're qualified for the next round.
All right. So
And tomorrow, woo, look at these games. I mean, we have Poland, Austria, Netherlands, Peru, USA, Bulgaria, and France, Italy.
Right. You guys were talking about, well, okay, so you guys, literally you two over there, are talking about France, and then, of course, you had Roddy talking about the Netherlands, and I didn't even see that there's USA, and I'm like, this is like the whole casting crew, man. Like, we're ready to go.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, Friday looks like a really great day of games, but when we look at the particular matchups, well, I guess Poland should have a field trip against Austria, but we'll see when the games actually happens. Netherlands versus Peru seems like a doable game for the Netherlands, but they always disappoint when they have to qualify for actual events. I'm talking about football more than StarCraft, to be honest. It's just a bad joke to Roddy, but they do tend to be eliminated early. But in NationWars, they do quite okay. And considering the quality of the lineup this year, I'm actually super comfortable saying that Netherlands should see the round of 16. Then USA versus Bulgaria, not a match that we expect too much from Bulgaria. I think you feel quite comfortable, Jess, right?
With Need in my back pocket, I'm fine.
Yeah?
Good to go.
Just Need? Right. And what about Avilo? What about Mac Cannon? Do they all kill? Do they start NationWars with a bang and an all kill of Bulgaria?
Maybe.
But then obviously the last game of the night, it's at 8 p.m. I believe. It's supposed to start at 8 p.m. France versus Italy. That's a game that we don't know the outcome yet. And personally, I'm quite scared.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh,
I think you guys should be.
Rainer has been really performing really well lately. At the WSG, I was really surprised he went second in his group.
Yeah. And beating the good old special that we didn't see today with the 3-0. So obviously there's a lot of hype around Rainer, and it makes a lot of sense because he's been an up-and-comer for a couple of years now. He will be able to participate in the WCS events this year, and he hasn't stopped playing and he hasn't stopped getting better and better every year. So Yeah, I don't know. Nobody's confident about France yet. Like, we want to see them play, and against Reynor, that could be dangerous.
It is.
I'm really looking forward to France-Italy tomorrow. But don't forget, it's going to start at 2 p.m. as we have 4 series tomorrow. So it's going to be at 2 p.m. on the same side of Gaming Inter on Twitch, of course. I hope you're enjoying the game, and we are enjoying here. So it's really always nice to see you, NationWars.
Yep.
So, see you tomorrow. Thank again to our partners, Mascherino, Omen by HP, and of course, Blizzard Entertainment and O Gaming. So, see you tomorrow, guys, at 2 p.m. Have a nice evening.